Hey guys, so I did a poll on Twitter and it looks like people want to see what I use for analog gear. So we're going to do a little tour of the analog equipment I use when I do my films. And so I have a Korg Polysix, Arturia Minibrute, and some modular stuff. So we're going to go through those things and I'm going to show you what I do with each one of those. So yeah, if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below and I'll try to get to them. Alright, so here we go. So here's the Korg Polysix. I use it mostly for, well, it's great for obviously doing chords and stuff like that, but so pads and things, but also I like using it for drones and also the arpeggiator. So let's check some of this out. Here's just a kind of a drone type thing. Also using the pulse width modulation on this. So you can change the speed of it and the intensity. So that's pretty cool for drones and stuff like that. So if we take that up, I just changed this is the sub oscillator. So it gives you the bass. The filter is really special on the Korg Polysix. And I'll go through the Arturia too, but there's something about this filter that's really great. Especially the resonance there. You really start to hear the overtones. So see, some of these keys are not working that well. The synth, this is kind of in rough shape, the synth, but still like to use it. So using that same sound we can do, or I'll show you the arpeggiator here. We do the latch, which holds whatever chord you play. So I do this for like chase scenes, especially for the new horror movie I'm doing, something like this. So you make that shorter using the EG to the envelope generator. Stuff like that, but that's cool to get that kind of string type sound. Okay, so let me just show you. You get that nice kind of plucky sound. It's got a great attack on this. sculpt the sound with it. Now also you can, this is doing the 2 octaves right now, and it's going down. You can go up and down, or you can do the full. Let me show you the up and down here. I'm going to put on some reverb on it. I'm using the Valhalla Hall reverb. So check it out. Okay, so let's check out some of the poly stuff, some of the chords. We'll raise the attack, sustain. Alright, so let's go to so let me shut off this switch. Actually, that's the phaser, hear that? So the phaser, so let's switch it to chorus. Yeah, I like using the chorus for pads. So if we lower, make it softer, so you get more brassy kind of tone that way. So it's really a great synth for pad kind of stuff. Let's open kind of fifths. Okay, so that's pretty much that. I'm trying to think. There's a lot I could show you, but that's primarily what I use it for. So yeah, let's move on to the Minibrute. I use this primarily for bass. But what's cool about this is the mixer section for the oscillators. So you can bring up different oscillators here. This is a saw. Let me just go individually. The saw, which has this cool ultra saw function, which basically puts it out of phase. You can change the rate of it. So that really fattens it up. And then you have the square wave. I have the sub oscillator on now too. Let me shut that off. So that's the square. Cool thing about this is you could change the pulse width. And then this is the saw. Now this has a metalizer, what's called a metalizer, which I believe is kind of like an FM type thing. So see, creates that FM DX kind of sound, DX7 kind of sound. And then there's also a noise oscillator. So by mixing these, you can get some pretty good sounds here. Oh, actually, let me talk about the sub is basically either a sine or a square, and then you can change the octave here. So we bring them all up. So let's get into the filter, filter envelopes. But anyway, you could change the attack. This is the amp envelope. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Let's get into you can change the filter. So slower attack. No, faster attack. So this is great for bass, but also for leads, because it's monophonic, so you're not going to get chords or anything, obviously. But for leads, you get some cool lead sounds. The modulation. You can set the mod to do different things. So if you want vibrato for leads and stuff. Well, I don't know what's going on with that, but that's kind of ridiculous. So for leads, you do have the mod do so vibrato. So that's the Arturia pretty much. I mean, there's a lot. Actually, let me show you one more thing. The arpeggiator. So like the Polysix, you could do a wider range like that. Shape it a lot with the I really like this feature. It's unique to synths. This kind of mixer style. One more thing I wanted to mention was the what's called the brute factor. I don't know if you could see that. Oops. This here. And basically that's like on the Minimoog, if you're familiar with the Minimoog, had a sync function. And that, well, you can expand it to make it do that, but what people used to do was feed the keyboard back into itself to create kind of like a feedback distortion loop. So that's what the brute factor does. Check it out. So it really kind of goes from clean, really dirty kind of. Anyway, let's move on to the modular stuff. Okay, at the end of last year I got into modular, and I've kind of been holding off because I knew it would be sort of a financial black hole. But anyway, I finally took the plunge, but it's still growing a lot, so I just still a lot to go. But I've been using what I have for the new film that I'm doing. So let me just take you through what I have. And I actually built some of these modules to save some money, so I'll go through those first. These two Sloth Chaos modules, which basically they emit CV in a chaotic function from -5 to +5 volts. So you could read more about that online, but it's it's the type of strange attractor function figure 8 pattern around two strange attractors. One of them oscillates between the two more quickly than the other. This is like 12 to 15 seconds between each plus and minus point there, whereas this one is 12 minutes. This is the Super Sloth. So these are pretty easy to build actually, so I saved money doing that. And also I put together this mixer from Bafaco, which is just a 4-channel mixer, which is cool. But actually you can use this Veils here as a 4-channel mixer by Mutable Instruments. But anyway, let me get to also I built this filter here. This is the Erica Synths filter. It's based on the Polyvox, which is an old Soviet synth. which is pretty raw kind of synth from the 70s, I believe. But so this has a great, really kind of screaming resonance there. So I also made that. So anyway, let's start with the Stow here, which is the analog oscillator by Make Noise. And what's cool about this is it has a sub oscillator and also this oscillator here that you can do like an FM synthesis type thing when you feed another oscillator into that. So that's another thing, is I need a few more oscillators. I only have this one oscillator here. But I have an LFO here, which is a low frequency oscillator, which I use to feed into this sometimes. That's pretty straightforward. The mats is, you can read about this online, but it's a function generator, so you can use it as an LFO, but you can also, it does a lot of stuff and it's really pretty incredible. But basically it's wave shape. You can wave shaper. So this is a rise of the sound wave there, the fall, and you can make it whether the attack is logarithmic or exponential, so you can get a more percussive attack by using the exponential part. These are just some attenuverters here, which attenuates or increases the voltage of something. And anyway, you can read about this online. You know, I could have a whole video about that. But and then this is just a passive, like a mult. So basically, it takes. Say I wanted to feed this oscillator to a bunch of different filters. I can put it into here and then feed out to as many as I want there. So that's what that does. Here's the filter. This is a Doppler filter. What I like about this one is it has individual outputs for each type of filter. So low pass, high pass, band pass, and notch filter. And also you have CV control here. The Polyvox filter, which I talked about, has band pass or low pass. 2 CV inputs, which is cool to control resonance. Or the cutoff for the first one. The Veils VCA. Voltage controlled amplifier, so that's to shape the amplitude of the waveform, so the loudness, so you can use the mats in conjunction with that to shape the wave. But you can also use the mats to shape, you know, the filter too, and we'll get into that. I'll create a patch. And over here, I don't know if you can see that, Pamela's new workout. This is the a trigger, so it sends out multiple triggers, which basically that's your clock. So this is a clock source. So, and this, you can do some really cool stuff. You know, I'll show you that when I open up I'm gonna make a patch after this. Okay, and then last but not least, we have the brain seed, which is it generates sort of random CV. But what's cool about this is it has a quantizer, so you can generate CV in different scales, major or minor or chromatic or not at all. So I'm going to use this in the patch that I create. So all you have to do is send it, and basically you can reseed, what's called reseed, which depending on what mode you're in, you can actually record whatever pattern it creates and then loop it. So that's pretty cool, actually. You can do a lot with that. Okay, here's a little patch I put together. I'll explain it in the description or in the text on the screen so that you can just listen. But basically I have Pamela's workout controlling sending like triggers to the brain seed, which then produces a random CV in the minor scale, which is indicated by the quantizer function. And then that goes to the oscillator. And then to the filter. So it's pretty simple, but I have some stuff happening with maths too that I'll talk about. Anyway, here it is. Thanks for watching.